Hello. So today we're going to do another VOD review. This one, it's kind of like, it's not the most exciting game. It's just a very like standard game. This was a little bit ago, so it was actually when I was in Emerald 4, but I just thought that it was a fun video. I'm basically doing like housekeeping before the new patch, and I'm just like trying to show like all the interesting games I might have had. This is a Scuttle Puddle game, and in this game I am going to play Arcanist REROLL basically. So if you haven't tried it, so a lot of these patches, so a lot of the times in these patches where there's like really dominant 4 costs, really dominant like 5 cost boards, a lot of the rerolls end up being like meh. You don't really want to play a reroll comp. Typically you want to just like cap out really high and play towards the 4 costs and use your gold towards making it to a higher level, right? In this case, I had a really good spot for Arcanist. If you have a good spot to play just vertical Arcanist, it is very possible to just play the comp and to get a nice easy top 4, and that's what I'm going to show in this video. Because I basically like, sometimes you feel a little bit awkward, especially if you have AP items, right? There are a lot of good AP carries in the game right now, but they're kind of hard to hit, and it's very like situational, right? Like if you're playing towards like Syndra, you need to have like a whole faded setup for her. Typically, if you're playing towards Lilia, typically you're playing like that Lilia Ash board, but that's heavily contested a lot of the times. And then the other AP carries are all like 5 costs typically, right? So sometimes it helps to go for a reroll if you have certain items for it, as well as to angle yourself towards units that people aren't playing, as well as just guaranteeing a top 4, right? Because in a lot of games that are especially crazy, like in this game for example, it's Scuttle Puddle, so the variance is really wild because the people that high roll are the people that get like a lot of really strong units and can tempo themselves, will cap really high because they'll have the extra gold for it. Meanwhile, if you're kind of somewhere in the middle that you don't have a good setup, or you didn't have like a strong opener, you might get a little bit lost in the sauce, if so to speak, right? So in this case, I just look at what augment I can take that probably makes me strong, right? I actually just wanted to try this out. Learning to spell isn't the greatest thing, but I looked at my board as like, I have a spark and I have rod. Maybe I can just do learning to spell and I can try and like tempo into it, right? The other thing that I have is I have a good Arcanist, not the best Arcanist spot, but I have a decent Arcanist spot because I already have what's it called? Because I already have the shred, right? I have the component for it. The other option I was thinking of is Dryad. You can also do learning to spell with Dryad. It's not necessarily the best one, but it does help with some of the scaling, as well as if you get a Kindred early. And the other option I was thinking of with learning to spell was to play like Zyra or Sages, because this was when I was like starting to learn about the line with Sage Bruiser line, right? So there are a couple options for it. I think we can look at the stats for a second. I don't think the stats on learning to spell are particularly amazing, but it's something that I just thought about doing. Right now, I don't really have like any Arcanist units, which is kind of crazy. The stats on this augment aren't very good, right? But typically, let me just show you. This is what I remember from back in my my looking at stats of Janna days. So learning to spell, it averages like a 5 if you sort by the units that it's really good on. Obviously, like the 5 costs come up first. Lee Sin comes up because I guess because of the scaling, but I think it's mostly the Dragon Lord variations, right? Because if you look at it out of nowhere, like Janna's really high up there. I think Janna uses it really well. That's why I was thinking of like the Janna Zyra board. As you can see, Zyra's also up here pretty well. Diana's really up here really well. So I was thinking maybe I can play like some sort of like Story Weaver and or Janna board. If you look at like vertical Arcanist, it's not like that good. It's actually like plus delta on some of them. I think Lux didn't even show up yet. Let's look up Lux. Yeah, but this was more like experimental, right? It's not that great, right? I kind of knew off rip that it was kind of experimental because this was like right at the start of the this was basically like right at the start of the new patch that has been like the last 2 weeks that I was grinding with, right? So you have to understand that it's not necessarily like me looking at it and thinking, okay, this is a guaranteed top 4 thing. It's kind of like, or sorry, not looking at it in a way like, oh, this is like an easy how do I phrase it, easy augment that will just guarantee me a top 4. It's more so that I was like, oh, this might be good because I have Spark early, maybe I can play something, right? As you can see, I also have the Kog'Maw reroll set up. So I was thinking like maybe I can play Kog'Maw. I ended up selling the Zyras because I didn't hit Story Weaver, so I wasn't going to play it. And now I hit 2 Luxes in shop. So I think to myself, okay, I think I'll commit to Lux because I have 1 Amumu. If you look at my setup, right, I have 1 Amumu and 2 Luxes. Learning to spell, typically you want to play it and have your units in, because the way it works is like every 2 takedowns they start to scale. So originally I was kind of debating between what I was going to go. I ended up deciding that I was going to do Kog'Maw reroll, but then I, like, out of the options I was holding on my bench. But then because I haven't tried out Kog'Maw reroll in a while and it seems like it might be good. But because I found these 2 Luxes, I'm kind of more angling towards Arcanist and Porcelain because I already have the Amumu in as well, right? Yeah. So, either way, besides the augment choice, something you have to be open for is something like this, where you end up with a lot of copies of a particular unit. If it is a rerollable unit and you have the items for it, you can go into that comp, right? Especially with 2-cost reroll. I'm going to do a 2-cost reroll guide, and it'll probably be out tomorrow. I just didn't have time to record it today. So I noticed that because now I'm getting a bunch more viewers and subscribers on my videos, which I thank everybody a lot for that. I'm running into getting a little bit more in terms of like statistics on what people like look up and what videos recommend mine and stuff like that. So for me, a lot of people are interested that watch my videos in rerolls, and something that so I'll end up doing a reroll guide to like help out those people, because thank you for subscribing and I want to make sure that I give you content that you would enjoy looking at. Anyways, so I got the Cone, which stacks AP. I have a Gnasher's Tooth, which is pretty good on Lux, from what I remember, and I already have Spark. So I have a decent Arcanist spot, so I'm probably just going to commit to Arcanist from here. We shall now do a small message for those that are sticking around in the video. You should know what's coming up. Since we reached our subscriber goal, we will be doing a TFT RP giveaway. Yay! So what you have to do is you have to be subscribed to the YouTube. You'll join my Discord. You'll enter the giveaway in the Discord, and this will end May 5th. So basically you will go to the video. I'll put in the comments as well, but in the description you can click the Discord. There'll be a link to the Discord, and then once you get into my Discord, which is the Wolfgang Discord, there is in the text channels a TFT giveaway channel. You will go to this channel, and then you will enter the giveaway using this button right here. The giveaway I decided is going to be 2 winners of 475 RP. So good luck. The giveaway ends on May 5th. So the winners will be selected in the Discord, and then I'll contact you in Discord in order to get like your Riot account and all of that, so that I could gift you it through the client. Thank you, and happy watching. Alright, so I did a pre-recorded message. So what did we miss here? What we missed is that I found another Lux, right? So before Krugs here, I now have a Lux 2. I'm looking at this guy because in case he's playing Lux from this spot with a sniper emblem. But as you can see, I have a Lux 2 plus another Lux on bench. So I have found a total of 4 Luxes on stage 2-6. That's the reason that I'm committing to this line, right? When I say that the line can top 4, and you know, you can look at the stats of Arcanist as well. So here I will show you the stats for Arcanist now in general, right? If we're looking at the board, right, if you're looking at Lux in particular, if you're playing like a 6 Arcanist Lux version, it averages like right around in the middle, like around like a little bit better than a 4.5. The items matter a lot. Typically with Lux, like before, she used to be like a heavy like AP, Giga AP build that you're trying to one-shot opponents. So that includes like Rabadons and other stuff. I think with all the HP buffs to backline units, she no longer has that potential to 1 or 2 shot units. So typically now you're just building her for like Giga damage and attack speed. and as well as utility. So like red buff is always going to be really good on her. You can put Shojin. Shiv is also really nice. I know I made Spark already, but I generally like Shiv with this comp because Lux hits backline units and Shiv can shred the backline units, so it'll reduce their magic resist, which will help her do a lot more damage. In terms of like playing Arcanist, it's actually really flexible because you can also pivot into Zoe if you don't hit a bunch of Luxes. In this case, I have hit a bunch of Luxes, so I'm committing to the Lux reroll. But basically, when you're playing vertical Arcanist, you're going for Lux 3, you're going for Zoe 3, you're going for a Mumu 3, and you're going for a Laui 3. Now, this is like the very standard Arcanist board. Basically, you're just playing vertical Arcanist. I have Lysandra here because you can sub her in as like a high roll potential, and then at your level 9, you can play like 4 Porcelain instead if you find a Lysandra. But we'll remove it for now because typically your board is going to look something like this, right? The Nico is just there for synergies plus an extra frontline unit, and you really need to hit a Laui 3 and a Mumu 3. Typically, a Mumu is your main tank. But you want to hit both of these 3-starred because they you don't have much front line, and your team kind of works in burst damage, so you really want your front line to be really strong. The comp suffered a lot because of Lysandra being really meta. Hopefully, if next patch she's a little bit less meta, then having like singular Giga tanks won't be as much of an issue. And then what you can do is, as you can see, because you have to 3-star a Mumu and a Laui as well as Lux, a lot of times you want to roll on level 7, right? So this is like one of those like a 2-cost reroll that you roll for on level 7. Usually you want to roll for a 2-cost on level 6 because you have the highest odds of it. That's why this comp, you really have to have a good spot for it, because if you don't natural a lot of copies of Lux, it becomes very difficult for you to hit Lux 3 as well as a Mumu 3 as well as a Laui 3, because these 3 costs are going to be really hard to hit on level 6, and they're not that easy to hit on level 7. And you also, in order to get the 6th Arcanist, for this comp, you need to find a Syndra, which is very hard to hit on level 6. So typically you want to level to 7, make sure you can hit a Mumu 3 and a Laui 3, and then go for either Lux or Zoe. Because if you don't find a lot of copies of Lux and you do find a couple copies of Zoe, then instead you can just go for Zoe, right? Now Zoe is getting buffed for next patch, so the thing that's great about Zoe is that currently her best items are kind of similar, right? She wants red buff, she wants Shiv, she wants like maybe like some sort of AP/casting item. So you can easily switch your items over from the Lux to the Zoe if you don't find a lot of Luxes, and you have like this secondary out, which makes the comp very flexible. There's some less flexible versions of this comp, right? Like typically you can see a Zoe reroll where it looks kind of like the Janna reroll, right? So instead of like Arcanist, you play what's it called? Altruist. You play like Riven. You play Zyra. And you play Diana and Janna. Something like this, right? This is another like Zoe reroll board. Where instead you're going for like Diana 3, Zoe 3, Soraka 3, and then you put AP buff on the Kale. This is another option that you can pivot to if you're not finding like the other Arcanist. I just like building the vertical Arcanist board because it's super stable mid game. This board caps a lot higher, obviously, because you can play towards like the 4 and 5 cost Dragon Lords and Sages, right? But typically, what I would say is that you shouldn't focus too hard. Like, unless you have a spot for this one, I think the Arcanist, I prefer the Arcanist version, even though it's worse, just because it's a lot more stable mid game, which is what we'll see in this video. Anyways, I'm gonna go back just a little bit because, so basically what I took heavy hitters because I'm just gonna go for Lux 3 and a Mumu 3, and I think it'll just do like some extra damage as well as help like my general front line as well as back line with some sustain. So I have a scaling augment, I have the Lux in. I should maybe slam Hodge here, but I just wanted to like prioritize a mana item and another like maybe red buff, for example, which would be pretty good. I made Nashor's Tooth because pretty much any attack speed is pretty good on Lux. Because of the buffs to backline units, it makes more sense for Lux to cast faster than for Lux to cast like a giant like clump of damage, right? So that's typically what I'm kind of thinking of. I put the tier because it's always going to be tier on Lux here. And I also naturaled another copy of Lux. So now I have 5 copies, right? This is what I mean by playing it from a good position. this is a very good position for Lux. I know it's Scuttle Puddle, everybody's rich. Everybody's board's gonna cap really high, and I'm going for a low cost reroll in Scuttle Puddle. So the chances are I won't get much more than like a 4th or a 3rd or something like that, right? It's gonna be very difficult for me to like win out, if that makes sense. But the thing that is important to notice is that this Lux does a shit ton of damage and can easily snipe the backline. So as you can see, she already killed 1 unit, right? The thing with Lux that makes it stable in the mid game is stuff like this. Now, I got unlucky, I didn't kill the Kog'Maw, but typically what happens is, like, even if you like don't win a lot of fights and you get relatively low on health, you become very strong in terms of just being able to kill units, right? Because with the vertical Arcanist board, because you're playing so many Arcanists and they have so much base AP, you do so much damage that you're able to even if you don't win fights, you're able to kill a lot of units and minimize the health loss that you take. And that's the reason why I like the vertical Arcanist board better, is because your mid game, you're a little bit more stable. Now in this case, I have a mood to have Lux too. I don't have a tier item on the Lux, but it's Radiant Carousel item, and guess what? I got a Radiant Rabadons, right? So even though like Lux is usually like built for attack speed, her one-shot potential is still really strong if you give her the right items. So I'll pull up the stats again. So in terms of Radiant items, her best items are Sphere, and then very close Sphere, Shojin, Radiant, but then the Rabadons is like very close because it just does so much damage, right? And I filtered it by Arcanist because Lux is played a lot in those Lilia boards, so I want to make sure that it didn't skew the stats, right? The other thing that's great about Arcanist is that if you hit 8 Arcanist, your average goes down by a lot. It's actually very strong, like, because the extra AP that you get with 8 Arcanists, if you have good items on Lux, as you can see, it has like a guaranteed top 4 percentage pretty much, and it has a huge win percentage. So getting an Arcanist spat is one of the best ways that you can high roll with this comp as well. Okay, let's go back to game. So yeah, I'm basically just waiting for 1 mana item on the Lux, and as you can see, now that I have the Radiant item, I have the Radiant item and I already have an upgraded unit for it, so I'm gonna be pretty strong relative to the lobby, and I should be spiking slightly after here, so I'm probably gonna send it for Lux 3 at 4-1, and then once I do that, I should be relatively stable for the rest of the game, because Lux 3 is always gonna kill a bunch of units, so even if I take losses, I won't be taking large losses, and that's like the main thing. Typically, I would like to be a little bit higher on the HP. I think it's just because it's Scuttle Puddle. Everybody's like a little bit high roll. I did high roll and natural a bunch of copies of Lux, but I am kind of greeding a lot of gold. I'm slow rolling 50 on this stage just because I want to keep 50 gold, and I just want to try and hit this as soon as possible, right? So as you can see here, this is the other problem with Arcanist. You want to be level 6, right? Sorry, you want to be level 7, because it's really hard to fit in the last Arcanist when you're playing like this, right? Because right now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Arcanists, but I need to play this Amumu who is not an Arcanist, and therefore I can't hit 6 Arcanists until I level up 1. Yeah, just playing just a Kane board. This is understandable. So I lose against this, but as you can see, I killed some units, so I don't take that much of a loss, right? I lost like 5 HP. It's not the greatest game. This is what I mean by your spot has to be really good, right? So typically, like, that guy, he already had like a Kane with full items, right? That's pretty like above tempo, right? So it's sometimes hard to like gauge exactly how strong the comp is. This comp is gonna get buffed because they're buffing, not only are they buffing Arcanist again, they're buffing the trait, they're also buffing Zoe a lot, which helps a lot because typically after you itemize Lux, and you put your tank items on a Mumu, the next step is to itemize Zoe a lot of the time. Typically the other carries that you're itemizing are either Zoe or Syndra, right? Because you're either gonna, once you hit everything, you're gonna level to 8 and then play like a Syndra excuse me, play a Syndra 2 on your board, or while you're rolling for a Lowy and a Mumu, you go for the Zoe 3. So here, because I am relatively low in HP, I am rolling for copies of this Lux on level 6 instead of going to level 7. I already have a Mumu 2, I already have a Lowy 2, so I'm not concerned about going to 7 to make sure that I guarantee hit the 2-star versions of these. Instead, I am slow rolling 50, and I'm rolling on 6 to find this Lux. As you can see, I started the game off with like 3 Luxes on stage 2, like 4 Lux on stage 2. I found 5 Luxes, and already it's kind of a stressful situation, I would say, right? But as you can see, we're bowling, and we just killed everything in its path, which is great. But this is what I mean by, you know, you could just kill units, right? Especially when people don't upgrade their units yet. Inspiring Epitaph is probably the take here, but I think I'm dumb and I won't take it. Yeah, I rolled it by accident. Well, not by accident. I rolled it because this was early in the patch, so I wasn't unfamiliar with how strong Inspiring Epitaph was. LDP is also really strong for Arcanists, right? Because Arcanists scale their AP. Now I can give a Mumu a bunch of AP, and my Lux gets into like some kind of crazy one-shot potential, right? I'm not strictly cornering my Lux. Cornering the Lux is good because obviously, like when you corner a unit, you keep it safe. Here I'm just rolling on 7. I'm rolling for Lux 3 on 7. I rolled to true 0 because I was 1 off of the Lux. So as you can saw, I had an extra. I was only off by 1 copy, and I know that this spikes me and scales me really hard into the late game. So usually you don't want to roll to 0. You want to roll to like 30 or something, right? I'm also not holding Zoes anymore, which kind of sucks. But I just need to have stability to make sure that I don't lose much more HP. So this is what I mean by like scuttle puddle. Sometimes people high roll, sometimes people low roll. For me, it's like I high rolled like my mid game a lot. I felt like the whole lobby kind of high rolled because even with like a Lux 2 with item slammed, I was still losing a lot of fights. But in general, I still don't even have a Syndra, by the way, when I roll deep on 7, which is also feels kind of bad. I'm starting to like. There's a lot of people that are having like really strong boards, but Lux 3 should keep me somewhat alive, right? I find this Udyr, so I'm just playing the Udyr and the Annie because I'm not 6 Arcanist anyway, so there's no reason to like put the other units in. But for this stage, I'd be surprised if I really lose any fights in particular, because I do so much damage, right? As you can see, I'm basically 2-shotting backline units, and that's like the big punishing thing, right? Because I can 2-shot backline units, especially the people that don't find 2-star 4 costs yet. A lot of times on stage 4, people might greed to go 9. That's where this comp really excels. If people are greeding to go 9, I basically punish all of stage 4. I get my HP up, and then I can bleed out to like a nice 3rd or 4th, right? Unless I find an Arcanist span, I like giga high roll, it's probably fine, right? But yeah. For the Lux, the way Lux damage works is that every unit that she passes through, she does 30% less damage. So if you're trying to snipe the backline, what you should do is you should try and find a position where your Lux can have a clean, like uninterrupted target of the backline unit, right? I think there was a part of that in the game. Right now we're at 22 minutes. I think it was like around here where I did that. I had Radiant Rabadon. It was right after getting Radiant Rabadons that I don't know if I mentioned it. It's okay. Maybe it'll come up after a better example. We were at 22 minutes. I said, yeah. This carousel. Let's go back here. I should probably take the set or a rod. I think I take the set. Yeah, something you can do in this comp is that because you're going to go for a Mumu 3, a Lowy 3, and because you have the Ari and the Syndra, what you can do is you can play a set and it will give you faded, right? So I can start scaling a set here, and then I could just level to 8 to try and find a Syndra, and I should have room for. Oh, I just sold him instantly. Oh, never mind. I guess I'm just in dire straits. What I was gonna say is that you can start scaling the set, and then the set does like a shit ton of damage, and he does stun, so he contributes to the front line a lot. But yeah, it's okay. So I'm trying to position this way, and I'm always giving the AP to the Amumu because the Amumu has good AP scaling. So I want to make sure that I'm fairly strong. There's a story champion. This guy I haven't played in a while, but I'm not too concerned. Story champion is like really weak, even if you high roll a lot. You have to play it in a very particular spot, which is like you really tempo the Garens and stuff to make sure you can make it to like level 9 and hit 7 Story Weaver. Unless he's 7 Story Weaver with an Irelia that works as like a secondary carry, I just chew through him, right? As you can see for most of this fight, I'm just pumping out damage. Lux is just rolling. She's just bowling ball right through everybody. And this is what I mean by the comp is still kind of viable, right? If you have a good spot for it. So I've played this comp a lot. So even though like my HP was kind of low and it was kind of risky, I kind of looked at the game and I was like, this is probably like top 4able if I hit Lux 3, especially after hitting the Radiant Rabadons. Just because like I know that, like I said, just killing units is so big. And that's like the nice thing about hitting vertical Arcanist. I also got LDP, which is insanely good for Arcanist, just because of the AP, the AP sharing between everybody. Oh, this is the comp. Check this out. So look, do you see what happened there? Oh, this was so cool. I don't know how else to describe it. This guy was pinging, right? Yeah, I remember this. This was the combat I was remembering. Check this out. Ready? So this is what I mean by with Lux positioning. Sometimes you try and separate. So sometimes you try and like put some units here and some of your frontline units here to create like a channel, like Moses splitting the sea. Because if you don't hit any unit, the Lux does max damage to a backline unit. So this one was kind of lucky. I didn't actually position for it, but sometimes you can position for it. So it's something to care about late game. So as you can see here, this is where his one unit is. This is where his other unit is. And if you watch, bowling ball goes straight through the middle, right onto the Kindred. Ready? Bang! Fucking in the dirt. One shot, right? The Lux also, the other thing that people don't talk about that much, which is why Lux is really good at multicasting, is that as a utility, you can see that the Lux stuns a lot, right? Every unit that the ball passes through stuns the unit, right? So this is me just deafening because the guy started like complaining and he started like pinging. And I was like, yeah, that's right. But this is Lux can scam fights like that, right? Even if that was a Kindred 3, I'm pretty sure that the stun plus another hit, the Kindred 3 is probably dead. But the idea is that like the Lux multicasting with the stuns is also really strong. Also, I finally found a Syndra, so now I can play 6 Arcanist. Oh yeah. But this is what I mean. This was a game where I rolled to 0 to find this Lux. Like I rolled really aggressively to make sure that I stabilized around this. Rolling to 0 there, like I could have sacrificed some more HP and slow rolled for the Lux. But I really needed to hit it on tempo in order to guarantee that I would streak so that I can try and top 4. As you can see, I didn't lose a single round this stage. Stage 5, it comes down to whether or not people high roll, right? Because the stronger people are, the harder it will be for me to outcap them. So here I just put I put gargoyles on this guy. I am 2 Amumus off. I naturaled 1 more copy. I'm 2 Amumus off of Amumu 3. What I decide to do here is I decide to just level and play the Hui. It might have been better to roll then level. This was a little bit of a troll. I had like the right idea. Basically what I said to myself is I just need to find 1 copy of Amumu and then I'll just duplicate the Amumu 3 instead of having to dig for the last Amumu. What I should have done is I should have slow rolled on 7. I should have rolled on 7. Like, you know, as you can see here, I rolled and I'm 10 gold now, right? What I should, or 20 gold after I sell, I should sell probably a Zoe because I'm not really playing towards Zoe 3. Oh, this one kind of went bad. This time the Xayah was able to snipe my Lux, and my Lux hit the Kaisa instead of the Xayah, and the Xayah is the one with the Radiant item, so it was a little bit unlucky. I should sell a Zoe. Make econ. Oh, I didn't sell the Zoe. That's bad. Anyways, what I should have done is I should have rolled on. You know how I leveled first and then played the way? I decreased my shop odds of hitting a 3 cost, right? So now I had to roll on level 8 really deep to find this last Amumu. Instead, I could have rolled on 7 and then used my last remaining gold to go 8 to play the way, right? That's what I could have done alternatively, right? Because this comp has some open spots, as you can see, it's a very level 7 comp. On level 8, you don't really have like many things you can play besides like Faded. Like that really like helps your board out by a lot. Like pretty much just a set is like probably one of your best things to play, or you try and go 9 to play like 4 porcelain with your setup. So this way doesn't really cost me anything to play him. Anyways, this guy's divine rolls, and he's like he's doing that thing where he's gonna hit like Morgana 3. So that's something to look out for, but I can't really do anything because it's not like I can deny it to roll to try and find the units, if that makes sense. Okay, I think my inking died. There we go. Also, another thing I should do is I should move these items. I think I'm holding too much on to. Oops, I don't need this. I don't need any of this. I'm holding too much onto this idea of maybe hitting the Zoe 3. This red buff should immediately be on the Syndra. I have a Syndra 2, and the Syndra 2 is gonna do way more damage. I'm not getting as much cone value. That's just because I'm sacrificing the cone value for positioning on my Lux, right? So I want my Lux somewhere in the middle to like get an easier snipe. I feel like when you're on the edge, it's very hard for you to get like a clean snipe. And in order to keep the LDP on my frontline unit and the Lux, I have to kind of clump my units together. It's not necessarily the best positioning here, but it's kind of like what I ended up going for. Because a lot of the other units, like greeting the cone value isn't that great because they don't do that much damage. But I really should swap the Syndra to the back row. And that's a my bad, right? This Zoe, I'm so far off of Zoe 3. I should 100% put items on Syndra. Syndra does way more damage. If you look at it right now, Syndra has no item and she's almost doing as much damage as the Zoe with the item. Okay, so I have my Amumu 3. I should back row somebody, right? I back row the Syndra. There we go. I fixed it. So this was me fixing it, identifying this. Now I just have to make sure that I identify to swap out the Zoe. I think I'm just generally a little bit stressed because the lobby is ended up being very close. So I expected to lose a couple fights and I expected to be a little bit weaker. But like it's 15, 14, 10, 9, 5. I was expecting somebody to be dead by now, if I have to be completely honest here. I didn't expect everybody to live as long as they did, because these guys, they're obviously like the high rollers that were really strong, but everybody else is so close in HP, and their boards are all relatively strong with each other. Like for example, this board, right? This is actually my friend, so I'm not gonna roast it, but like this was a never a lose situation, right? Like I rolled into a lot of like really strong boards. Like I think I played heavenly boards. Like I played the Kane board twice, which is really hard for this comp to deal with a lot of the time, right? And I haven't played the Garen guy, which I always beat the Garen guy. I always beat this board. This guy finally died, but I always beat him. I'm pretty sure I beat this guy. I don't know who it is, but there's one other person in the lobby that I definitely beat. Anyways, if we look here, what's that? Morgana 3. So the game is completely fucked because of they're dealing with this for next patch. I should definitely be like putting the items on the Syndra. Oh no, I put on the Lissandra. Really? Yeah, I'm still playing this way to try and duplicate units. If I find an Ashe, then I'll play 4 porcelain now. That's kind of the vibe. I cornered the Lux here. I think cornering the Lux on this side is a little bit better for the Kane fights. And yeah, this guy is just way too strong with the 4 trick shot, because I don't have healing on my backline, and my Lux is a 2-star, so she doesn't have that much HP. But like I said, I preserve HP because I'm killing units, so I'm still alive. But this is what I mean. I'm playing a very like sub meta comp, right? This isn't like the greatest comp in a galaxy called Scuttle Puddle, where everybody's like giga high rolling. Not giga high rolling, but everybody has like a lot of money, so a lot of boards are able to cap really high at level 10. This comp is a very low cap board. You're trying to punish early game by killing a bunch of units and make it so that you can scale into late game, right? That's the important thing to think about with this comp. Now the comp might be broken next patch because they're buffing Arcanist as well as Zoe. I did make a huge mistake here, so I don't even know why I would put items on this Lysandra. I wouldn't just put it on the Syndra. The Syndra does so much damage. Anyways, I got dropped a Lowy 3. So a Mumu 3, a Lowy 3. This is like the end situation that you want all the time, pretty much. I think I was just thinking. I think my idea was that I don't have enough front line, so I wanted this. What's her name? I wanted this Lysandra to like gobble up a unit. So I want to give her items to like help with that. No, don't put on the Ari. Put on the Syndra. What are you doing, Frank? Fuck. I'm so dumb sometimes. I should also be playing Porcelain. You know what I was? I was stressed because of this guy. Anyways, this is so bad. I think I lose this fight. I'm guaranteed top 4 though, which is nice, but yeah. Okay, so let's go over this last round. I think I just fumbled because I panicked because I had to fight the Morgana 3 guy because I thought that I was due. Anyway, so what should I do here? This is a teachable moment. I think I was just so jittery. This must have been like after a while. It must be because I lost a couple matches. I don't know what my mindset was because this is just bad gameplay. So first of all, I should never put items on Lysandra. It's always items on Syndra. I know this, right? Syndra is like the better carry. I know this. I knew this. I play this comp all the time. I know that for sure. I don't know why I thought I should put on Lysandra. I still don't know. That baffles me that I made that mistake. Second of all, Wei isn't doing shit. You put in the Ash for 4 Porcelain, right? 4 Porcelain gives the attack speed buff and it makes a Mumu a lot more tankier, right? I have a JG, I have a component anvil. You look for a tier item, you get 3 items Syndra. Syndra becomes dual carry, and you're pretty good, right? That's the first thing. The second thing is, if I'm playing against the Morgana, which we'll start, or we'll look at our board once we get to the Morgana. Okay, so let's see the Morgana 3, right? When we get there. There's no mana item. That's fine. Yeah, Shiv is fine. Oh, this is so dumb. I think I put the items on the Lysandra by accident. I think in my head I want, like, there's no way it's ever put the items on the Lysandra. Okay, so what you do here is you're supposed to put this. What you can do is you put a Mumu here, you put a Lowy here. Right? Hear me out. This is how you can beat this board. It doesn't matter that he has Morgana 3. Fuck that. Right? Who gives a shit about Morgana 3? What you have to do is you put a Mumu here. You put Syndra here. You put Lysandra here. Like, or whatever. You put your cone so that your cone works, right? So you put Ari, Syndra, and then somebody, right? And you put this guy here. You put a Lowy 3 right here, right? So this here, this here, this here. Maybe this was, I don't know. I'm so upset at myself, right? So what this does is you want to put your units on this side against the Morgana, because the Morgana will randomly cast on one of the units and then do the damage, right? My Mumu could probably tank the first cast of the Morgana. I'm not even joking. Mumu's really fucking tanky. It doesn't take that much damage, even if it's a Morgana 3, right? The Kayn and all of these, the Amumu will be unkillable. So all of these will get stuck on the Amumu. That's why you put the Amumu here. LDP will work because the Amumu will be really far on this side. And you want to put the Alawi here just so that these units don't walk in on your Lux and like distract her too much. By clumping all of these units around this Amumu like this, you also create an open lane where the where the Lux might be able to snipe the Morgana, right? I did none of this, which I don't know why. I think I was in a Discord call with my friend, and maybe I was just talking about other stuff, right? But look, see, so like my Lux died, right? Because the Morgana cast went over here and it randomed into like the corner where it killed the Lux. If you look at the Morgana's half HP, right? If my Lux was able to cast a second time here, so let's go back. Let's count like let's just watch for this is a really good teachable moment. Now, the quality of this game was way worse than I thought it was. I kept it in like my folder of VOD review stuff, which means like it should have been like okay. I played this horribly, right? The last like 3 or 4 rounds, I could have easily gotten like 3rd or 2nd, and I just threw away like 2 placements easily, right? The comp is strong. I fucked this part up really bad. Like this fight, I'm pretty sure I could have beat Morgana 3, right? Obviously there's like a random element to it, but watch how this fight plays out, right? So my Lux will cast the first time after 2 autos, right? I don't have Porcelain in. It kills the frontline unit. It hits the Morgana for half her health. The Morgana cast landed on this unit over here. So as you can see, it literally just perfectly snowflakes onto my Lux that kills her, right? If I moved more units on this side, there would be all of these units would be here, and I'd have an open lane that I would do a little bit more damage. And if I got a second cast off, I kill the Morgana guaranteed. The Kayn is probably going to get stuck on the Amumu, because even after my Lux dies, the Kayn can't kill the Amumu. And yeah, and I even put the Lux in the Kayn corner, so it's like easy for her to dodge the Kayn. But look, this Kayn isn't doing shit. It's just because the Morgana damage, right? Man, I fucked this game up. Anyways, it's fine. I was playing against a Morgana 3, but like that's what I mean by you can see how strong it is, right? I literally chunked a Morgana 3 for half her health. But I could have easily, like, this guy died the same turn as me. This was easily a 3rd, if not a 2nd even, right? Because I beat the Morgana guy. I think the Morgana guy is the guy in 2nd place with HP. Yeah, right? This guy's hard to beat because the Kaisa and the Xayah scam my backline really hard. But man, that was a bad ending to the thing. Hopefully it was informative, right? Even if I make mistakes like this, I want you guys to watch it and learn from my own mistakes. And just look at this comp. Like, you have a lot of flexibility. You can build AP or attack speed items on the Lux. You have high capping potential with Lysandra and 4 Porcelain, but also an Arcanist spat. And this comp is only getting above next patch, so hopefully you can try it out and see if it works well in your lobbies. Anyways, see ya until next time.